Anyways, welcome everybody. Thank you for jumping on our team call tonight. Our theme tonight is how to be productive and not spend so much time on social media. And I will tell you that even at this point in the game, 4 years in, I struggle with this. And that's because social media is such a suck, right? You get into it and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to follow this person. And you start scrolling and all of a sudden you're like, where did that half an hour go? Or where did that 15 minutes go? And I realize that some of you are trying to build a business in a short period of time. And I want you to know that that is absolutely okay. And that is how many of us build our business, was in pockets of the day or in 1 hour or less. I will tell you that when I started my business, I was teaching full-time, taking graduate classes, and I was trying to build my Beachbody business. My business hours were before work and then late at night after my son went to bed. I did not have all day to sit in my office. And to this day now, I do not have all day to sit in my office. I had that window for about 6 months and I loved it, but I don't have that right now. So what I'm going to do is share with you some strategies to make you more effective with the time that you have. Right now, so I have a couple coaches on the call right now. The coaches who are on with me in live time, in the chat, can you guys please just put how many hours a day you are able to devote to your business, and tell us how long you've been coaching, if you can do that. How long you've been coaching, how many hours a day or week. Maybe some of you are only working a certain number of hours a week. I'd love to see that. Okay, so Michelle, are you on your 3 right now? Did you go into 3 right now?
Not quite 3 years for coaching, 3 years since I started with my Beachbody programs, but I probably started coaching in the fall about 3 years ago. So it'll be later this year.
Okay, yeah. So she's giving it 10 to 15 hours a week, which is great. Every day I would say you're doing something, correct? You're not taking a day off, are you?
No, I try not to.
Yeah.
Then I just feel like I have to
catch up.
4 hours, yeah.
Yep, same. Christina, Lindsay just popped off actually. But if you guys want to put it in the comment section, that'd be great. I will tell you, as they're typing it, I'll say that I'm like Michelle. I actually don't really like to take a day off because then I feel a little bit behind and overwhelmed. I've always been that way. Whenever I was working full time, I found that the weekends were my power time. Like that's whenever I really, I would spend 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday just doing coaching work because I really loved it. I find to this day myself like just wanting to sit and do work all the time. And that's how you know you love it, when you really want to be in your office. I don't have that window anymore. Christina's saying 2 to 3 hours per day, coaching 2 years. Yes, very good. So you're going to see these numbers really just all over the board, but please know that if you only have 30 minutes to an hour, that's actually enough. And that's something that you can get a lot done if you become very powerful at your power hour. So tonight, I first want to lead with how I break down my week, and then I want to share with you some of the things that I do first, second, third, when it comes to my power pockets of time. So Sundays are actually my favorite day of the week. Lindsay, that's okay. I see she says she has poor service, so she's not going to share. But I would assume that Lindsay is probably at least 15 hours if I had to guess, especially now that it's summer. Her winter schedule probably is a little different. But can't speak for her, but I would assume it's somewhere around that because I know she's trying to replace her income from the bar. So what I do on Sundays is I sit down and I do 2 things. The first thing that I do is a brain dump. And so I'm a big list maker because I find I get overwhelmed. I start to think about all the things I need to do and then I don't want to do anything. I don't know if you're that way, but sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anything because I have too much to do. And so I feel really a lot of peace if I sit down with a piece of paper and I make a to-do list for the week. And so this was last week's. As you can see, a lot of it got crossed off. I have a few more things I need to finish tonight, and I need to make this coming week's to-do list. So I do this every Sunday, and there are things on here that are simple things as far as, creating images, recording training videos, paying my assistant, posting in the challenge group, just certain things. So whatever is a priority on your to-do list, that's where you put it. So you write it all down. And then if you're really crazy, you then take it to your calendar and you put it on what you're going to do on those days. And so like I would take that to-do list and I would say on Tuesday, I'm going to send this email or XYZ. So I break it down like this because at this time I'm working in pockets of the day. So I'm working when my daughter naps or when my son is, distracted or whatnot. And so I'm not getting that full, sit down and work for 3 hours. So I need to be fast and know, okay, here's what's on my list. Here's what has to happen today. Otherwise I just sit down and I don't feel as effective. So for me, the to-do list is helpful. The next thing that I'm going to share with you guys is something that is really great for staying on task, because as a new coach, it's easy to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to post this week, but now what am I going to post about? And sometimes what you're posting about is not what you should be posting about. If you're trying to market to the coach sneak peek, it's not as effective to show pictures of your dinner. It would be more effective to talk about the coaching opportunity from different angles. And so that's why what I do is I break down, I'll show you this too. My month gets broken down based off of what my groups are. So every month I write down, here's this challenge group, here's this free group, here's this, whatever I'm doing. And I write it down so that whenever I go to make my posts for the week, I know what I need to talk about. If it's a challenge group, I need to talk about my transformation, my meals. I definitely need videos or pictures of me working out. So that's why this is really critical as far as planning out your week goes. And I will tell you that I do not plan my content as far as what I'm going to say. I know that some coaches do that. I know that when I was teaching, what I did is I would always create the morning post the night before. So I would and I will tell you guys that my workout picture in the past, not anymore. My workout picture for the morning was always yesterday's workout. So I would do the workout, I would take the picture, then I would run upstairs and hop in the shower. And then that night at bedtime, I would edit the picture and I would make the post for the morning. So I was always just a little bit ahead of myself. But I would also just prepare for the week. So I would create the theme of what I was posting about. I usually jot down 2 ideas to 3 ideas per day. But I didn't write them because that would overwhelm me. But for some of you who are super type A and you love that, maybe you're really busy during the week and you can't create content, then create your content over the weekend. Put it in your notes section on your phone and have it ready to go. A lot of coaches are posting photos that weren't necessarily taken on the spot. That was something that I didn't realize whenever I was a new coach. I just thought it all had to happen right away at that moment. I remember being at a training with Megan Blinka, and we were in line to go to the bathroom, and she was posting her quinoa for lunch, and I was like, really? We're not eating, and how'd you get that picture? And she's like, this is a long time ago, I was very new, and she's like, oh, I took this last week. So creating content ahead of time will save you, and it's very helpful. So I wanted to share that with you because this leads into this week and what you do during your power hours. So as coaches, we call it our power hour, meaning that this is our time where we're really working the business and we're doing it in an effective way. This is not the time that you chat on social media with your friend. This is not the time that you answer a phone call during that 30-minute window or that hour window. This is not the time where you're trying to make dinner. That is not a power hour. That is an interrupted disaster, okay? So a power hour gets put on your calendar, and that's a scheduled block of time where you're very busy and you're very focused. And what I actually need you to do is I need you to communicate with your family, whether you have a spouse, children, anyone who lives in your home, and I need you to tell them, here's what I'm doing during this time. Here's why I'm doing it. So that goes back to your why, which we talked about on our Coach Basics call this week. Here's why I'm doing it. Maybe it's to create, freedom, or maybe it's to help pay for vacation this summer, or whatever it's going to be used for. I need this time. Okay, I promise you that when I'm not using this time, so in an hour or in a half an hour, I will be very present with you. I won't be on my phone. I won't be trying to answer messages. I will be present. And I think that that's something that coaches struggle with. They want to be on their phone 24/7. I don't want you to build this business on your phone all day long. I want you to be powerful and use the time wisely. And that will only happen if you're intentional about your time. So once you tell your family what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's time for you to get to work. And that means that you may not scroll social media at this time. It's tempting to watch other coaches' stories. It's tempting to just scroll and say, who am I going to talk to today? This will not make you effective with your time, and it will probably cause you to dim your light, meaning that you're going to start to play the comparison game, or you're going to get distracted. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see you be you and shine as a beacon for others. So that means you got to quit paying attention to everybody else and all their business, and you got to focus on your business and who you can help. So when I do my power hours, I find that the morning is the best time for me to do the most important work. Because if I don't do that work first thing, or if I don't have a morning and I'm only working at night, I do this task I'm about to share with you first. Because it's very easy to put this task way at the bottom of the list, and it always has to come first. So in our business, having new conversations and having genuine invites and follow-ups are the most important piece to this business. You are never going to be a successful coach if you cannot promise to do invites every single day, to do follow-ups every single day, and to have some type of a new conversation every single day. So for me, this comes first. And for me, this is the part that I often don't want to do first, because I don't know, I just don't love doing it. It's not my favorite piece to the puzzle. So here's what mine looks like. I start with follow-ups. So at the start of my workday, I look to see who do I need to follow up with. And I track that because I use Google Streak. So I'm using a tracking system. Some of you are using maybe a planner or Teamsy or whatever, but I always start with my follow-ups first, because this is your very warm market. You don't want to lose out on these people. I will tell you that my follow-ups typically take 4 times. And some of you are thinking, what? She's been coaching for that long and she still has to follow up 4 times. I do. People are busy. People are distracted on social media. They might read your message and then go to Target, and now they're really not going to remember that they talked to you because they just spent $150 or whatever. But now they're like, I can't buy a challenge pack because I just did damage, right? That's what they tell me. But it does. It takes me a long time. But I do my follow-ups first, coming off of that list. So if you're a brand new coach and you need help with tracking, please reach out to me or your upline. But you never want to do this business without a good tracking system. So I look to see who told me they wanted more info, who told me they were interested. I look at the people who are really engaged, and I say, do you have any more questions, or are you ready to move forward? I also try to get people on the phone if they're on the fence. I say, are you available tomorrow? Can we talk? Especially when it comes to coaching. So I'm always trying to get people on my calendar for conversations. Then what I do from there is I do my invites. So I look to see who has liked my posts or who's watching my stories. Those are the people who I send a message to. To be honest with you guys, I build my business on Instagram now. So I look at who's watching my stories, and that's where I send my invites from. I say, hey, Michelle, I see that you've been watching my stories, and I so appreciate that. I hope I've given you a few laughs, and I hope that you are, really enjoying the unfiltered version of my life right now. I'm kind of curious, are you following along because you're on a fitness journey as well, or are you interested in what I do as a lifestyle coach? I'm point blank forward with these people because they're watching my reality TV show. And so I will tell you that for every 10 invite I send that ask that very direct question, on average, I average about 7 right now. 7 will respond and say, whatever. And some are coaches, which I try to not message coaches, but sometimes I do. Some are coaches who are accidentally, or they're following me on purpose. Some are doing other MLMs, but I'm actually not afraid of that. So I don't mind when a Young Living Oil person follows me. I don't mind when a Beauty Counter person follows me, because while these people are in other MLMs and they maybe can't necessarily be a coach, they make great clients and they respect our business and they understand the business model. So don't be afraid to, and I know that you don't want all your followers to be other MLM people, but don't be afraid to engage with them. A lot of them need our help, just like we might need their help with oils or makeup or whatever. So don't write those people off. So I send my invites and then I start new conversations. And I will tell you that I actually have my assistant starting new conversations for me. So one thing that he does is he sends a message every day to my new followers. You guys could do the same thing. You could have, your husband do it or your children do it. And you could send a pretty simple message. I save it in my notes section and I send it to everybody who follows me that day. And basically it just says, thanks so much for the new follow. I'm excited to get to know you better. If you haven't already, please check out my IG stories. That's where you'll see the real version of my life. And then Michelle suggested that I do this, and it works really well, actually. You can, if you use the story highlights on Instagram, you can have I have a Meet Sarah section, and there's like 10 fun facts about me there. And I tell them, like, go check out my Meet Sarah section or whatever. And then they like write back and they're like, oh my gosh, I have Hashimoto's too, or I've got 2 kids, and now we have something in common. So if you haven't already created the like Meet so-and-so section on your Instagram, it's a really great place for you to kind of put it out there. The images that I used, you guys can go look at mine. It's at Sarah Elizabeth 27. The images that I use were all created through Canva. So I made those. So you guys can make your own as well. If you need help, please just ask for it. So that's the most important piece to my business. Okay, that's like key. But I will tell you that this is what most coaches don't want to do. They want to make images on Canva. They want to create their blog. They want to send a newsletter. They want to design a business card, but they don't want to invite. If you're not inviting, you're not going to hit Success Club, and you will never recruit a team. So keep that in the forefront. Now, personal development is huge for me. I know that we tell you guys it needs to be between like 10 pages a day or 10 minutes a day, and I think that that's awesome, but I actually think you can do better. I do, probably truthfully, I do 45 minutes to an hour almost every single day. Sometimes it's training calls, sometimes it's Joel Osteen stuff. Like, I just need to stay in that bubble with PD, and I will tell you that anytime I take my foot off the gas with PD or trainings, I slip back in my business. So if you're feeling in a slump with your business, it's time to lean into team calls. It's time to lean into podcasts, books, get Audible, whatever, but find something that makes you feel like you're growing, and you will feel a lot better, and it'll help you to be a light for other people. So I do my PD as I'm doing my exercises sometimes, or when I'm making dinner, or when I'm in the shower. That is when I'm multitasking, or when I'm driving. Some of you have a long commute to work. So these are all times when I do my PD. Now, remember when I told you all the other stuff should come second, right? So before all the other stuff, making images, all the fun things, now you need to take care of the people who you brought on. So the second piece to my power hour after I do my invites is that I check in with my current clients. So that could be a challenge group check-in, or I check in with like my team page or my coaches or my trainings. So I do that because when you bring someone in, you need to lock arms with them and help them. So you need to be, making great content for your challenge groups, or just reaching out to your challengers or shouting them out, talking with your own coaches that you bring in, seeing how you can help them. These are all things that I don't want to say they're second, but I was taught, and it's right, that you always have to look out for number one in your business. So it has to be your business first, the activities that will help you to grow in the future, and then you go to the rest of the stuff. So that's what I do second. And then the last part of a power hour for me, or a power of several hours, if you're going to really be able to do this, is things like blogging. If you're going to blog recipes, or making client newsletters through MailChimp, or creating the content for the newsletters or the emails that you might be sending out. One thing that I love to do, which I shouldn't be allowed to do because it takes up all my time, is I love making images on Canva for challenge groups, for recognition. It's so fun to me, but it's not the best use of my time. And so I have outsourced that. So what I do is I have my assistant make my images for me. I usually tell her what I want on them. I sometimes will allow myself to pick the images, but I have to let some of that go. And what you're going to learn as you grow your business with time is that you have to treat it like a business. So that means that you sometimes do outsource. You outsource the things that, number one, you're not good at, or number two, that's not a best interest of your time. So I'll teach you guys how to do that as you grow. I know some of you are brand new and you're like, I'm not getting an assistant today. So that means that you get to do the fun stuff. You get to make your images. You get to, do all the work. And that's how this starts. That's how I started. That's how Michelle started. We all started doing everything, and you'll get better at it. And then you'll finally learn that you need a second set of hands, or a third, or a fourth. And then what I need you to do so that you can really stay effective is I need you to give yourself a timer, because you need that gut check, because this business is so fun. And when things are fun, You want to do it all the time. You know, my son, he has 30 minutes of screen time on an iPad a day. That's it. That's all he gets. And I will tell you, if I didn't stop him, he'd sit on it for 2 days, or same with the TV. He loves it, but I have to have checks for him. Otherwise, he just does it. And that is the same with me with my business. If you left me in this office today and you said, work as long as you feel like it, I would work for 12 hours straight because I love it. I don't have that stopping point. And I know that for some of you, you need that stopping point because you got to go to bed, or you got to do the laundry, or you got to do something else. So I need you to sit down with your cell phone, not to be on it, but to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to set a timer. I have 15 minutes to send invites, and that's all I'm going to do for those 15 minutes. And I have a half an hour to make these images or whatever. And that's it. And be done and go on to the next task. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself wasting time. So what I want you to do is become a master of analyzing your power hours and saying, how powerful was that hour? What did I get done? What should I not have been doing in that time? And I also need you to have someone hold you accountable. So I need you to find either a success partner, meaning someone who is at the same phase of the business with you, or a friend or a spouse. And I need you to say to them, okay, I'm going to work. You know, like sometimes I'll say to my husband, I'm going to work and I need to get XYZ done. Can you check on me in like an hour and a half and ask me if I did XYZ? And then sometimes it's just that piece of having somebody to check in with you and know that you're doing what you said you did. Because if I don't, I can get lost on Facebook or Instagram or making those pretty images and I didn't send the invites. So I want you to commit to these practices, and I want you to commit to putting inviting first, follow-ups, and then all the other stuff, okay? You do this and you get good at it, you're going to see wonderful Success Club numbers, and you're going to see growth in your business, which is what I know you guys want to have happen. At this time, if anybody else wants to share just advice, wisdom, please do so. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I don't know if I have anything to add. I think that is all really valuable information. I know that I also like to make images, but I also don't like to do it because when I get started, I don't want to stop. So I also found like we've been traveling a lot, and so I haven't had a lot of service, and I'd be like, oh, I guess I can't work on my business. But I was able to, I'm like, why should you just open my notes app and write up my post and pick out the picture I'm going to use? And I've been stockpiling a lot of images on this trip, even though I can't post them all because that would be overwhelming for everybody to see all those. But yeah, being able to write it up in advance has really been valuable.
That's great. Christina, do you have any tips? Because she works a pretty demanding full-time job, and she's balancing her son. Like, it's just been a lot for you. Do you have any advice for the person who has to be at work at, whatever, 7 a.m. or whatever time it is? Like, can you share any tips?
I would have to agree with you when you talked about personal development, because no doubt if you're working full-time and working this business, there's going to be a lot of emotional up and down. Can I do this? A lot of comparing yourself to others, and you just can't do it. And you have to really, really dig into personal development to be able to overcome that, or it can get you down. So personal development is definitely where it's at in that regard. And I agree too with the timer. I can waste an hour easily, but yeah, you have to set the timer, especially on follow-ups and invites, and just do them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the timer's huge because we're like children. We're large children, right? And where we're just like, I'm gonna just do a little bit longer here. Leave me alone, Mom. Right? Good. Okay. Ladies, would you say that your power hour looks different on different days of the week? Or do you do the same thing every day?
I think for people not working full time, that it probably varies by day. Like there's a day where I might try to blast out tons of follow-ups and then, have a few new conversations, or a day where I have a lot of new conversations and then less follow-ups, with my constants always being to checking with my customers and challengers, that sort of thing. And then when I feel like I'm caught up on those, or and I work a lot in pockets, in stages. So I'll start a newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Do we lose her?
I think so.
She starts a newsletter. Go ahead, Michelle. We heard you say start a newsletter and then it froze.
Oh, but it could take me 7 days. Like I might work on it a little bit at a time, just before I could actually send it out.
Yeah. Good. I think it's just so like important for the people who are just joining and they're thinking, I don't have 3 hours a day to devote to this business. That's okay. You can really be powerful. You know, so what I did was I would work out like at 5 a.m. from 5 to 5:30, and then from 5:30 to 6:15, I used to do my like 45 minutes of a power hour. I would do those messages, and then later in the day I would get back to them all. But it's possible to do this in short blocks of time as long as you can stay focused and do these behaviors. I think if you're going to play on Facebook and scroll on your phone in the car and you're just wasting time, you're not building a business. So give yourself that gut check every single day. What did I do to move my business forward? You know, were there tangible actions? And then were there tangible results? You're here to help people, but you're here to make money. So every week you need to be saying, did I bring in any Benjamins, right? Because when you bring in the Benjamins, that's how you convince the hubbies or the whoever's in the other room while you're on these calls and you're doing the trainings. That's how you show them what I'm doing is working. Please continue to support me. And when you do bring in the Benjamins, it doesn't hurt to thank the people who've been supporting you. It's so nice to sometimes, you know, on a Beachbody payday, run and grab your significant other or your child or someone who's been behind the scenes sacrificing for you to do this business and say thank you. Your support matters, because when you have support from others for this business, you're going to go far. All right, that's all I've got tonight. Thank you guys so much for listening, for being here, and we hope you have a great week. Yay for Summit. Be sure to tag along. See you guys.